Hi, I'm Leah Inman, and I'm here to talk to you about reading the landscape. In other words, what do you look for when snowshoeing? This is specifically designed to be used at Riverbend Nature Center in Faribault, Minnesota, for the purpose of Shattuck-St. Mary's School students who are visiting the Nature Center, but it would work for pretty much anyone. So let's launch in. Snowshoeing is a great activity. It's a great way to enjoy winter and get out there. I will tell you that snowshoeing works best when you're in a little bit deeper snow, not just walking on a path, but you can snowshoe pretty much anywhere. Okay, and this talk will focus more on what to do when you're snowshoeing and not on the technique of snowshoeing. Okay, so first of all, my favorite thing to do when I'm out snowshoeing is to look for animal tracks because animals don't cover their tracks. And there are all sorts of guides you can get or print out. You can just print out pictures from the internet of different animal tracks. There's a lot of uncommon ones here, like this mountain lion, bobcat. You probably aren't going to see those wild boar here in Minnesota. But what we are going to see really commonly is maybe a possum. That could happen. Let's look here. We're going to see squirrel tracks for sure. Deer tracks. I'm having a hard time finding the deer. Oh, here we go. Deer tracks. You're going to possibly see raccoon tracks, maybe fox tracks, lots of different bird tracks. You're going to see dogs because people walk their dogs. That's a given. Wild turkey are pretty common. Okay, so those are the tracks that you'll probably want to focus on. And then here's another way to look at this. What I like here is this column shows what just the track itself looks like, and then on the right hand side is when they're walking, what you'll expect to see. Because not all animals walk the same way. Foxes, interestingly, track in a very straight line, so do mink, and then other animals are more offset as they go. Some of my favorite tracks are rabbits and squirrels. Those are really common and really easy to see. Okay, and what will help is to look at a picture, video of those animals running to understand how these tracks work. So even though we don't have jackrabbits here, we more have cottontails. It's the same idea. Okay, and watch in slow motion. Watch how those back feet come way up. So the front feet go down and the back feet come way up by the front feet. And so the track looks kind of funny until you realize that's what's happening. Let's look at this again, is those back feet are coming way up past the front feet as the rabbit is running. Okay, I'll show you these tracks in a minute. And then a squirrel is fairly similar. So squirrels walking and jumping. And again, this is not the kind of squirrel we have. We don't have, we have gray squirrels and red squirrels. But look how the front feet go down and the back feet come up. This is the squirrel not moving all that fast, and when the squirrel's moving faster, those back feet come up further. So you can actually use clues of how far apart the tracks are and how far those back feet come up to help you understand how fast the squirrel is moving. Let's watch just a little more. There we go. The squirrel's moving a little fast, and those back feet are really coming up. So when we look at the tracks, these are rabbit tracks. Rabbits tend to track in more of a triangular pattern because they've put their front feet together like this when they land, and then their back feet come up further than the front feet. Whereas squirrels tend to put their front feet together and right next to each other, and the back feet come just a little bit further up. And so squirrels have more of a square or a rectangle pattern depending on the squirrel. And sorry, I'm drawing with my mouse, not a perfect shape. So when you're looking in the snow, the tracks are actually somewhat similarly sized depending on the size of the animal, right? And so if you see a more triangular shape, that's going to be your bunny. If you see a square, that's going to be your squirrel. The other trick I like to use is if the tracks are going from one tree to another tree and just disappear, it's probably a squirrel. So look at all the evidence that you have around you when you are watching tracks. This is a great one. It's a little hard to tell what these tracks are out here because the snow is so deep. But what you're seeing is something moving around. Oh, and something big was moving around over there with those deep T-poles. You're seeing something moving around, and then what happened here? It's quite a kerfuffle. Yeah. Do you see that these are bird wing tracks? So bird wing tracks are another fun thing to look for. You don't usually see giant ones. Maybe if you're really lucky and you saw where an owl caught a mouse, then you can look at those. But you'll see lots of little ones if you watch for them, especially if you look around bird feeders. So bird wings are really awesome. My favorite time that I was tracking a squirrel moving around and just following the tracks and seeing where the squirrel went. And all of a sudden there was a huge there's another track that came in from the side. Sorry, I should clarify. Another track that came in from the side met with the squirrel. Explosion of fur and blood. And the other tracks were fox tracks. So that was pretty fun to get to see where a fox had caught a squirrel. Okay. This is a handkerchief that I have that I took a picture of for you all, and it shows a track story. And I especially want to show you because I know this is upside down here, but a mouse. Mice are really fun. Do you see these little tiny things in their tracks? Mice drag their tail. Mice drag their tail. And so you can see these mouse tracks right there going, and so this mouse is headed up and over to whatever this mess is and maybe got in here to hide. Maybe that's food, maybe that's blood from being caught. Hard to say. Okay, you can see deer tracks. The deer is moving across here and just goes across. Okay, it'd be fun for you to pause the video and just try to see what could you figure out. You've got some turkey tracks. You got a turkey going right here, right there. Okay, you get some gray squirrel tracks in here and some raccoon tracks. It looks like our raccoon went all the way just across the bottom. And I think our gray squirrel is the one moving here from the tree up and over to these branches as well. You had a fox that came through. So you're seeing the fox tracks up here, the fox tracked through. So a lot of fun. These are what we call track stories. And I actually have linked, and I'll try to remember to put in the comments for other people that might not be from Shattuck-St. Mary's watching this. There's lots of great quizzes online where you can see pictures that people took of tracks, and then they're like, what was happening? It's a lot of fun. And it helps train you to see what should I look for when I'm snowshoeing. Okay, another thing to look for in snowshoeing is scat. Some animals bury their poop, but not very many. And so scat's a fancy word for poop. And the cool thing is all sorts of animals have different kinds of scat. Most common are going to be fox or coyote, depending on where you are. Fox and coyote don't tend to live in the same areas because they eat really similar food. They occupy very similar niches. And so rather than compete head to head, they live in different areas. But they tend to have this scat with these pulls at the end, and that's kind of where the hair from the animals makes the scat not solid, but kind of have this tapered end. The other thing that's very common to see are deer and rabbits. And I'll talk about that scat in a minute here. So scat's another cool thing to just look out for, and it shows you signs that animals have been around. Oh, I didn't take pictures of this, but this is another fun thing too, is to look for mouse tunnels under the snow. You're going to see them better if you get a thaw and the snow starts to melt. But you can see weird little tracks. And you're like, what are those little tracks underneath the snow? Mouse tunnels. Yeah. Okay, so we've got deer scat here. Deer scat, tends to be a little rounder, a little smoother. I like to think of it as those like little Cocoa Pebbles cereal. Okay, whereas bunny scat tends to be a little more rough, right? And gets even more circular than the deer because the deer can be a little more ovally. Okay, size also helps in just looking for tracks. If you see deer tracks with deer scat, clearly that was a deer. Okay, and this is another one of those mammal scats here, fox scat, and so see that those tapered ends from the fur. You can see berries. Foxes and coyotes both do eat berries if they are needing food. They don't just eat meat, so don't let that fool you. Okay, another fun thing to look at when you're snowshoeing is to look for tree ID, and you might be like, what? There's no leaves on the tree. Well, a lot of the trees have really identifiable bark. And these are some of my favorite trees from Riverbend Nature Center. My very favorite is hackberry just because it's easy to see and it's common at Riverbend. This is hackberry and it looks like it's been hacked by an axe. So it's got these lines of bark with big dips between them. Okay, black cherry looks like burnt potato chip bark. So this is just little layers of burnt potato chip. Maple trees have kind of this shaggy bark. There's a silver maple here, and there's a lot of silver maples at Riverbend, among other types. There's lots of types of maples there. Walnut is really cool. Walnut's got these lines going up, these lines and these ridges, and walnuts tend to grow without another tree super close to them because walnuts actually put out toxins underground to prevent other trees from growing. So those are just a couple of my favorite personal trees, and I think all 4 types of bark are easy to tell apart, and so it's fun when you're out snowshoeing to be like, oh look, I still can see a tree I know. Okay, so the last thing, how do you dress for snowshoeing? Because it's really important to be dressed well and dressed for the weather. Of course, my advice will vary depending on just how cold it is, because the colder it is, the more you want to bundle. But rest assured that you can go out snowshoeing in -20, -30 degrees. People did that all the time when you had to snowshoe for life to get somewhere. Like you're traveling and you need to get to an area with food, or you're a fur trapper in the winter. So know that bundling up does make a difference. Okay, the first thing, I've got a picture of boots. To use the snowshoes at Riverbend, you'll find it most helpful to wear boots. If you don't have snow boots, hiking boots will work, and even short hikers will be fine. In a pinch, you can wear tennis shoes, but your feet are going to get wet and cold. Just warning you now. And then don't wear things like slippers or slip-on shoes or things, because then you're gonna have the snowshoe. The snowshoes are like a rubber tire with holes cut in it, and you're gonna have that right on your skin, and that will be really uncomfortable. So the most comfortable will be to wear boots, either snow boots or hiking boots. I find it personally more comfortable to wear a base layer of long underwear. If you don't own long underwear, you can just wear leggings underneath pants, and that will work fine too. That's what I wear if I can't find my long underwear. Nice thick socks, warm socks. Warm socks are better than wearing thin socks. Don't wear those little ankle socks. Those are not going to do you any good because you're going to get cold legs. So wear some socks that actually come up. If you can have synthetic ones, that's better because when you sweat, you'll be more comfortable. But if you have cotton socks, that's what you have. Okay, this shows a lot of layers. This is for really cold weather. If you have a nice winter coat, especially like a ski coat, and then you can wear maybe a fleece jacket under it and a t-shirt, that'll be nice if it's in like the 20s. And just every set of like 10 degrees colder it goes, just put on another layer. You don't want to be hot when you're starting out to snowshoe because then you'll sweat too much. This is a picture for someone who's going camping. So you want to be just a tiny bit on the chilly side, but not cold, just like, oh, it's a little bit chilly out when you first start out, so that as you keep snowshoeing, you'll get warmer. Usually when I snowshoe, I wear a t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt, a fleece jacket, maybe a liner to my jacket. That's what this insulation layer is, like those puffy liners. And then I like to wear a hard shell outer, kind of like a raincoat. My ski coat is like this because I find it really helps block the wind if you're in a windy area. Okay, you want good gloves. If your hands get cold, you will be miserable. Don't wear thin cotton gloves, and please, please go with gloves. Do not leave your hands bare. You will get so cold. And if you're cold, you're going to be miserable. It's not any fun to snowshoe when it's cold. Okay, wear a good hat. This is a picture of 2 people headed out snowshoeing. She's got a baby. That's the little hat down below. But wear a really nice hat that covers your ears because, again, if your ears are cold, you're going to be miserable. Okay. If it's colder, you can put a scarf on to help cover your neck, or if your neck tends to get cold, mine does. So if I zip my fleece up sometimes, but if I don't have this, then I'll wear a scarf. This is a picture, this is me on the left here, snowshoeing back in the day. I was not wearing snow pants, although snow pants would certainly keep you warm. I was wearing a pair of long underwear, a pair of jeans, and a pair of rain pants. So just waterproof pants so that if I fell in the snow, my jeans wouldn't get wet. You don't want jeans as your outer layer because if they get wet, you're going to get soaked. This shows, I was actually hiking at Riverbend in this picture. I was hugging a tree because I was so excited that I knew how to identify the tree from the bark. Of course, this was about a decade ago, and I'm trying to remember the tree right now. I think it might be an elm, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay, I'm wearing a nice hat and I've got my hood up and I've got my jacket zipped all the way up because I didn't want to wear a scarf that day. I know that this is my ski coat, so I had an outer windproof layer and I had a puffy liner. And I was probably wearing a long sleeve shirt under that because I don't remember it being super hot. Oh, sunglasses are really nice to wear. They're not required, but they're really nice if it's a sunny day because the light shines off the sun and it gets really bright. And then finally, I am wearing my snow boots under there. They're hard to see. Okay, and then here's some kids dressed up. They've got on snow pants. They've got on snow boots. If you don't own snow boots but want to buy some, my favorite brand is what this girl is wearing, our Sorel brand snow boots. But whatever works for you. She's wearing a nice coat, got the hood pulled up. She's got good gloves. So does the little boy. He's got a hat that fastens on the bottom, so it really keeps his ears warm. You're going to have more fun if you dress properly. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit about how to dress for the snow and what to do. So thank you. Bye.